Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we close in on the bid deadline for Manchester United, and it doesn't look that good, to be honest with you. There are fears that the Al Thani Qatar bid will not be enough. Hopefully I can be a bridge over troubled water for you tonight, but I'm not so sure. We'll get straight into all of that. Friday night show, you know I love it. Can I just say as well, just as a community shout out, legends, the lot of you who've got your tickets for the Dublin show, it is selling out fast within 24 hours. It's going to be a great show. I can't wait. It's the biggest show we've ever done. It's a big audience, and I'm really excited about it. Links in the live chat and it's in the video description. Get them while you can. They're going fast. But let's get into this show tonight. Look, we get all of this, don't we? But I'm going to go straight into the updates from Mike Keegan because they came out in the last sort of hour or so. He's been very good on the sale. He's basically saying that the improved bid from Sheikh Jassim is expected to land tonight. Of course, that 10 p.m. deadline. It will break the £5 billion barrier, but it's not expected to break the £5 billion barrier by very much. It would beat the 4.77 billion that was paid for the Washington Commanders. Some people seem to think this is relevant, but it won't get anywhere near the 6 billion that the Glazers want. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer is also expected to land before 10 o'clock. And I think what we're into here is I think we are going to get new owners of some description. How much power they'll have, whether the Glazers will still be here, is all up for auction, of course. But the Glazers are not going to get the price they want, and therefore does that mean that they won't bother to sell at all? A little bit more detail on that. Thought to be about the full control of the Premier League Giants, 100% control. Main rival Sir Jim, the British billionaire, is seeking a controlling stake of. The British billionaire is seeking a controlling stake of more than 50%, but his offer would allow two brothers from the Glazer family, Joel and Avron, to retain their 20%. That is being viewed as a controversial move, which would infuriate large sections of United fan base should it be successful. A major bidding war, including numerous parties, appears to have failed to materialise after the Glazers put the club up for sale in November. There are offers of investment, but not a big full-sale bidding war. The moves are seen as preemptive of any Premier League tests in relation to due diligence. It's just what I said this afternoon, isn't it? Really, effectively, they've made a massive mistake. The Glazers here, they've completely misread the room. I think they thought there was going to be this major bidding war, and it's not transpired, and they've got anywhere near. They've got nowhere near what they thought was going to happen. The third round of bids was a waste of time. I mean, as I say, Al Thani's bid was around 5 billion. This new bid is around 5 billion. It's just the Glazers have played this ridiculously bad. And look, am I surprised? As I said, their dad bought Manchester United, not them. They appear to be the prime example of people who inherit money and don't actually have the intelligence of what they're doing. They certainly don't have any intelligence around football. I mean, apparently a couple of years ago, there was mass panic from the Glazers when they heard that a Manchester United game had gone to extra time, because they thought that meant overtime and they'd have to play the players even more. They thought a hat-trick was something Dean Henderson did when it was sunny. I mean, they just have got no idea about football. They don't know what they're doing. And I think that this is again evidenced by the fact that they've tried to sell the club and they haven't got a bloody clue what they're doing. I mean, God knows what they think the offside rule is. They probably think it's the rotten side of the apple that you don't eat. They're just bloody stupid. They're just stupid. And if this ends up with them taking investment, they've played this fan base through their own stupidity like you wouldn't believe. But I think they genuinely thought when they put this club up for sale, they were going to have a massive queue of people trying to buy the club. And ultimately, they probably would have if they hadn't outpriced it. You know how you get a good price for something? You know, if you're going to auction something off, like if you want to sell, I nearly said bathwater, no one wants any of that. But if you want to sell a car's always a good thing. Imagine you've got a car and it's worth 50 grand. Put it on the market for 45 grand. Because you'll start getting offers. And then people will really want it because in their mind they'll be going, this is a bargain and I really want this car. And very quickly you'll go past the 50 grand anyway and you'll probably end up getting 60 grand for it. What the Glazers did, they had something that was worth 4 billion and they put a price tag of 6 on. People never want to pay something that it's not worth. But if they'd put a price tag of about 4.5 billion on, I think they would have gone probably to about 5.5 billion. They just don't know what they're doing. They've sold this club in the bad way. They put a lot of people off as well. One of the big things when you're selling something is you want to get as many people interested as they can because, you know, there might be people who could afford to pay 4.5 billion for United, but they see it's 6 billion and they go, I'm not going to get involved. But when it's 4.5 billion and then suddenly the bids are going up to 4.75, they might find another 500 million from somewhere. So they've screwed this up big time. The only hope can be that the offer that they're going to get from Al Thani, which is a good offer, that they take. United will know better under Sir Jim Radcliffe. He's always viewed United purely as an investment and too many fans bought into his local lad spiel, says Matt. And social media saying why Qatar can't just bid 6 billion. Don't forget 6 billion was never the price of the club. It's been a false bubble created by the Glazers. Akash, can I just applaud you? I don't know why people are getting angry on social media about Al Thani and Qatar not offering 6 billion. Whether they get hold of this club or not, I just want to say thank you because actually you clearly are intelligent people who understand sport and understand business. They shouldn't do that. You know, they're not Todd Bowley. I'd have been worried if they'd done it. Like chucking 6 billion at a club that's not worth 6 billion. It sends the wrong message. If they don't get this football club, I'll be gutted, but ultimately, I think if they're gonna get the football club, you want them to get it for the right reason. I remember, I think it was Al Thani's dad was asked about this a few weeks ago, and he said, "I don't think football's really a good investment, and we can't be overpaying." And countless people have said in relation to this money that is there from Qatar that these people are business people. They don't like the perception that it's sports washing and they've got more money than sense. They're business people and they do not want to be taken for a ride. So all these United fans going, well, if they really want it, they should pay 6 billion. Why? They go and buy Spurs now or somebody else. Man United was their number one and we screwed it up. Why should they pay 6 billion for something that they're going to have to clear £1 billion of debt that they didn't even put into the club? They're going to have to build a stadium because the current owners couldn't be asked to do it for the last 20 years. And they have to buy and sell players that the current owners have messed up. I mean, to be honest with you, if I had the money, and I never bloody will, but if I had a personal fortune of £100 billion and I could easily give the Glazers 6, I wouldn't give them the steam off my piss. I'd say, you are clueless, you are in trouble, you need to sell because you've messed it up. Because let's be honest, you'd never sell this club if you could keep getting your dividends for the next 20 years. So you've messed it up and you want me to overpay so that you can walk away with more money that you've took out of this football club. Here's a novel proposition for you. I'm going to give you 5 billion and nothing more. And that's way more than you deserve. And I'm going to give you 5 billion because when I take this club over, it's going to cost me another 3 or 4 billion to put your mistakes right. So you can take 5 billion or you can bloody swivel on it. And that's what I'd do. You know, I don't get United fans going, well, if he really wanted us, they'd pay 6 billion. Why? We're not worth that. We're not worth that. And I'll tell you something for free because you all know it as well. We're not winning the league next year, the year after, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. And we're not winning the Champions League either. We're not winning the Premier League or the Champions League at any time in the next few years under this current ownership model. No matter who the manager is. It's just not going to happen. You can't compete with the Real Madrids and the Manchester Cities of this world under the current ownership model. And you can't compete with it with Sir Jim as well. The Finnish guy said it's best, it's a fast, and Glazers got found out. Let's go, fingers crossed, it's Qatar, says Kai. What do you say to people that say they don't want Qatar because of human rights issues, says Cameron? That's your personal choice. I've got no problem with it. That's your personal choice. My response to that is, this is football. That horse bolted a long time ago. If we're not letting people own football clubs with dubious, issues around them, then there's a lot more things that need to be done before Man United sell to Qatar. And on top of that, this is football. Who runs your bank? Who owns your supermarket? Where'd you get your petrol from for your car? You know, this is not about moral issues, really. This is just about bitterness and jealousy that they don't want Manchester United to buy it. And you know it is. It's sport. If Jazim offers 6, imagine the ride will be taken on in the transfer market. Can't set a precedent, says Raz. I saw reports saying that the Glazers wanted to stay on because they believe they can get 10 billion in the future. What, with a rusty stadium becoming less competitive, says Matt. Mate, I'll come back to that. Hi, Mark. I've got my tickets for Dublin after sadly missing your last show due to work. Can't wait. Do you think there'll be a big update on the sale tonight, says Dean. I think we've had the update, Dean. I actually think we've had the update. Goldbridge is going to look into his mystic ball now. I've got 2, but ultimately, James says he's nervous. I know you've said you think a full sale is likely. Do you still think this now that Sir Jim has offered those parasites a lifeline? I don't know. Ever since that Sir Jim Radcliffe lifeline came in, I've basically said to you, I don't know which way this is going to go. And I think the fact that Al Thani will not be held to ransom, the Glazers have got to get out to stay, haven't they? I do want to talk about where this is going to go because I think it's quite interesting. It's obvious they did not want to overpay in this scenario because they can buy another club with the same amount or less, says Suraj. The Glazers haven't put 6 billion out there. The media did it. Sir Jim Ratcliffe could be their valuation. The Glazers, what the media want, a bidding war for a story, says Jack. That's nonsense, Jack. The media. What benefit is the media having a bidding war? It's the Glazers. Bourbon with Friends has just gifted 10 memberships. You're a legend, mate. Absolute legend. But I read something today, and look, you read a lot, but I read something today that even if Sir Jim Radcliffe buys 50%, he might have to borrow a little bit more. I mean, if anybody thinks that the future under the Glazers and Sir Jim is good, I'm just going to predict it now. It won't be. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think a lot of people agree with me. The future under Sir Jim and the Glazers will be horrific. I didn't like what Sir Jim was offering anyway. Even if Sir Jim had bought 100% of the club, I didn't like it. It was this moral, let's live off our own farts, mentality, organic growth, let's shit on our vegetables and grow them ourselves. I mean, I just think that's not football. That is not football. Football is mercenary, greedy wealth. That's what it is. I don't like it, but that's what it is. We saw it with the Super League. That's probably going to happen at some point. I don't think fans can really stop it. Football is about greed, and that's what it's all about. This, notion that you can run a football club and, operate on the bottom line and live off your own bloody revenue, you probably can, but you won't be successful. And do United fans want that? Do we want to sit there every night going, well, I know we haven't won anything for 40 years, but, we do run off our own revenue. Whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo. I don't go to Tesco to buy my vegetables. I grow them in the garden myself. Still a carrot. I don't care. I just genuinely don't care about that. The opportunity for Manchester United to dominate football off their own revenue disappeared the minute the Glazers bought us and put us into debt. At that point, we were self-sufficient. We could have built Old Trafford. We could have bought decent players every year. But when you don't do that for 20 years, you kiss it goodbye. You kiss it goodbye. It's like your dream, whoever you dreamt of marrying when you were 21, if you didn't do it when you're 21 and you go and try and do it when they're 40, there'll be a bloody big difference. And I mean big. There might be a very big difference. So, look, the time has gone for that. If anybody wants a quick lesson in why Manchester United can't win titles by living off their own revenue, we are £1 billion in debt collectively. We need to build a stadium that's going to cost £1 to £2 billion, and also we need to buy players. How the hell are we going to survive and compete with Manchester City off profit of about 100 to 200 million pounds a year when we need to spend 3 billion now? Doesn't work. It's going to take 20 years. Just doesn't work. The maths don't work. We need super wealth because the Glazers ruined us, basically. If they had spent a few extra 100 million taking care of the stadium, squad and training ground over their time in charge, maybe they'd get 6 billion. Matt, you are a genius. Welcome to Kyle, who's a member of the club. Matt says, I know there is an NDA in place, but the Sheikh needs to take the financial hit to put pressure on the Glazers by publicly speaking out. Andy says, I went to Manchester tour and was gutted. I had to leave as soon as it finished as my driver was in work at 6 a.m. Would have loved to meet you, says Andy Weatherall. Cheers, mate. Top night. Hope you're doing well. And if the Glazers don't take the full sale, they will struggle to sell the club in the future, says John. And United 2004 says, sources close to Sky say a little while ago said the Glazers haven't actually got a valuation. Could this positive talks with Qatar be because they know the actual valuation and will meet it? Look, I'm United 2004. I'm going to talk in the next section about what I think is going to happen next. And I think we can all have a say on that, and we'll even run a poll where this is going to go. Not who you want, where do you think it's going to go? Because I'm sort of 50-50 at the moment. Matthew says, I love the show, Mark. Keep it up. So Jim and the Glazers will be more of the same. I agree. But the big thing to say here is, you know what? There was a great comment there. I think it was Matt who said it. The Glazers, whatever the Glazers want, whether they want 10 billion, whether they want 6 billion, whether they want 5 billion. You know the funny thing is, every year they've took 20 million in dividends out, haven't they? 20 or 40 million in dividends that they separate between 6 of them. So 20, or let's be generous and say 30. 30 million divided by 6 means they get 5 million every year out of Man United in dividends, right? If they'd spent money building a stadium, infrastructure, and sacking off Woodward years ago and getting a proper CEO and director of football in, that football club would probably be worth 6 billion now. Maybe even more, because it'd be a lot more successful. You know, they're asking for... It's basically like buying a Ferrari, running it into the ground, crashing it into barriers, not changing the tyres, and then saying you want full price for it. It could have been. It could have been, but they blew it. You blew it! Kyle says, love the channel. United Stand is my go-to for United news. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for tuning in. Andy Weatherall's just gifted a membership as well. And welcome, Swave93. Thank you very much. Right, I'm just going to run a quick poll here. What happens, I'm going to call it. Can't be bothered to think about anything more technical than that on a Friday. So Jim and Blazers, or let's just say Qatar. Now, I'm not asking you what you want. Please be intelligent with this poll. I'm not asking you what you want to happen. I'm asking what you think is going to happen. Because what you want and what you think is two very different things. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that it's difficult. It's so difficult, and it's interesting because a lot of people are saying Qatar, but I think they're just voting with their hearts and not thinking about it. You've got a situation here where Joel and Avram have always wanted to stay, and the other siblings have wanted to go. So if Sir Jim gives the money to the other siblings and takes 50%, and Joel and Avram get to stay and have power, why would they sell? On the other hand, the reaction to that is something that I hope they would predict is not going to be nice. Now, look, forget all the bloody overlap stuff and all that. It's, you know, for me that was a bit of banter. You know, everybody said you should get Goldbridge on. They bottled it. That's up to them. But let's get it back to serious talk. I've not heard anything from Mr. Politician Neville this week. He was very vocal about the sale of the club. He said nothing about this Jim Radcliffe thing as far as I've heard. I think that's interesting. We've not really heard anything from a lot of the outlets that were anti-Qatar either. So we could get into a situation where it's a bit like Poch and Ten Hag. If Sir Jim gets hold of the club, can they ride out the storm and turn this into a positive? In which case, I think Joel and Avram stay. But if Sir Jim gets the club with Joel and Avram and it's going to turn into a shit show, I think they'll walk away. And it's predicting which way that's going to go. Because then you take the money and you go. You take the billion each from Al Thani. So I'm not 100% confident which way this is going to go. Far from it. I don't know. I think the obvious thing is to sell, but I don't know. If they put in 5 billion, isn't it technically a 6 billion bid because the debt comes with the club? Hannibal, good point. As Americans, the Glazers don't know anything but losing dollars until the stadium is empty and people stop buying. They don't care about protests, says Baldwin with friends. Steph says, welcome to Members Club, Steph. Evening, Mark. Happy Friday. This whole Sir Jim thing feels like some sort of red herring. Just makes zero sense every which way you look at it, says Mike Calvert. And hi, Mark. I don't know whether Jim is the right owner, but from what we are hearing, it's not a good look, and we need super wealth anyway. Love your shows. Thank you very much, Govind. I think that... look, I do want to come back on something. A lot of people have quite rightly had an opinion on this, and they've said anybody who thinks that Sir Jim is going to buy 50% of the club and then let Joel and Avram have, majority voting rights is an idiot. He won't let that happen. But my response to that is, who owns the club? Joel and Avram. Why would Joel and Avram keep 20% and lose all their voting rights and watch their siblings walk off with, $500 million each? What's the benefit of them keeping 20%? They've got no say in the club. What's that 20% worth? Not very much. That 20% in the club under Sir Jim will be worth $500 million now and $500 million in 5 years, because I don't see any improvement. So my answer to those people saying, well, Sir Jim won't buy the club unless he's got majority voting rights, I don't think Joel and Avram will stay in the club unless they keep majority voting rights either. So, it works both ways, doesn't it? Andy Weatherall's gifted another membership. Legend, Andy. Hope you're doing well. Hader says, I think that Qatar will happen. And Luke says, exactly, Mark. Work it out. It's a nonsense story. Well, I just think, sometimes people just become blinkered to what they want. And I think you can twist the Sir Jim story and go, well, he'll own 50% of the club. He isn't stupid enough to let the Joel and Avram have voting rights. So actually, we'll have somebody who owns half the club with more voting rights. Yeah, and we'll still be massively in debt. And he'll only own half of the club. And he's borrowed money to get that. It's debt, isn't it? It's like wet, wet, wet. I feel it in my fingers. But you know what? I think that we have an option of somebody buying all of the club and not being in debt. Why would you not want that over that? But as I said, what's the point in Joel and Avram staying and being cheerleaders? What's the point in them keeping 20% and being cheerleaders? Why would you do that? As I said many times, if I own something and somebody wants me to stay, but they want to take away all my power, I'd say, I own this club. I'm not accepting that. Simple, isn't it? What's going to happen next? 26% of you think it will be a Sir Jim and Glazers future. 74% of you think it will be a Qatar future with Al Thani. Well, I hope you're right. Look, and I don't, I think a lot of us sit here and honestly, hand on heart, say, I don't know whether Al Thani's going to work. Has PSG really worked? Man City's worked really well. It's early days for Newcastle. For me, there's 3 clubs that are Middle East owned that are super wealthy. Man City has worked and has pretty much worked from the day they got in the Champions League. They haven't won a Champions League yet, but I don't think they've failed to qualify it since they've been in it, and they've won many, many, many Premier Leagues. Newcastle, it's early days, but you can see they've gone from a relegation team to a top 4 team in a year. And PSG, I don't think PSG has worked. I think PSG is an example of how not to do it. I think if PSG were in the Premier League, it probably would have worked better. They're in a bit of a Farmers League, but it's not worked in relation to the Champions League. So who knows what would happen? I don't think super wealth guarantees you super success. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not the only horse in the race with super wealth, are we? Man City are in our league, Newcastle are in our league. But without it, I think we're screwed. Are you coming to New York this year, Mark? Says Taffa. Can I just say, New York, concrete jungles where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can do. Girl, we're in New York. I am coming to New York. July, we're playing Arsenal, aren't we? So I'm coming to New York. We're going to do a show. We're going to do a show the night before somewhere or the night after. We're going to do a United Stand live show across the Atlantic in New York. We'll get it sorted. We'll do something. But I can't wait. I can't speak. I'm so excited about that. I'd always said, if they do New York, I'm going. Because they always do the West Coast. And the East Coast is... I've never been to New York, so I want to go. So, if Jay-Z wants to do a song or something like that, get me on Alicia Keys. I'm ready. Let's re-release it. But, I'm looking forward to that. Breaking, says Gabrielle. Sheikh Jazim is to make a final take it or leave it offer to buy Manchester United this evening, which will represent a world record bid for sports teams, says Gabrielle. Well, what's the world record bid and where's that story coming from? Because the world record bid was Washington Commanders, which is $4.77 billion. we've probably already beaten that with 5 billion. Travelbug TV, thank you very much. Welcome to the Members Club. Mark, I'm feeling sick, says Chris. All this build-up to be let down again. If we don't go Qatar, imagine them buying another Premier League team and dominating football, says Chris. Well, I wouldn't even start thinking about that, Chris, because that might not happen. But I have said I think they will buy a club if they don't get United. I can't speak. I can't wait. We love your legend, says Taffa. Thank you very much. To me, it's simple, says Luke. If Sir Jim is buying the club by adding more debt and keeping the Glazers here, he doesn't have the club's best interest at heart, says Luke. Look, I'm not here to tell people who want Sir Jim that you're wrong. But for me, from what I've heard, and it, you know, as I say, more than happy to hear if we're wrong. From what I've heard, I absolutely don't want it. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I feel very disappointed by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, actually. Last August, I was really excited about him wanting to buy the club. I felt that he was the perfect person to do it. Then the club was put up for sale in November. Then we heard about, you know, Elon Musk and Apple and Amazon, and we started to think about this mega wealth. And then Al Thani came into the game, and Sir Jim was there, and I think he got a lot of bad press, and I felt quite sorry for him because I thought, you know what, I think he would be a good owner of the club. But ultimately, I've been really disappointed because I always thought he was looking to buy, you know, the club, and he clearly couldn't do that. And now he's trying to get hold of the club by keeping the Glazers in power. I mean, and everything that was, you know, every part of me that was like feeling a little bit sorry for him. I don't now. I don't care whether you're Sir Jim, Al Thani, Gary Neville, Gary Barlow. It doesn't matter to me. If you're trying to buy the club and keep the Glazers in power, you are against what my personal belief is, that we've had 17, 18 years of this. I don't want it anymore. I don't want them there anymore. I don't want them on the board anymore. And that's a very important thing to consider. Even if Sir Jim had majority voting shares, Joel and Avram would still be on the board. They'd still have a say. I don't want that. I don't want that. That doesn't represent what I want for Manchester United. And look, I'm one person, and people would say, well, we don't care what you want. That's absolutely fine, but I care what I want, and you care what you want. I don't want Joel and Avram on the board anymore. There is no second chance. You've had 17 years, and you blew it. You're not getting another chance. You're not having another say, but that's not up to me. What's the situation with the Class B and Class A shareholder stakes? Journalists have been going on about, says Jack. Look, in a very quick sentence, the Class B shares are the ones that have the voting rights. They're all owned by the Glazers, and ultimately, even if someone buys them, they don't get those shares. So Sir Jim would have to, you know, they'd have to change the voting system. My point is the Glazers have never wanted to pay anything to invest. It doesn't make sense. Sir Jim pays everything and they just collect, says Sheriff. And if the bid from Sir Jim goes through with keeping the Glazers, he better think it twice because he will be destroyed and he will be public enemy number one, says Terp. I want to see Sir Jim out trending. What is he doing is unforgivable. He is in bed with the Glazers. The guy is a snake and we should keep the same energy, says W.A. Barrett. And Sean, welcome to Members Club. Well, look, on that, you know, big shout out to the 58 for organising the protest again on Sunday. And if you can be at that and you want to be at that, I think it's a very powerful message. But if you can't be at that and you're not going to be at that for whatever reason, you know, there's a lot of things you can do online on Sunday as well. We're a collective fan base. I don't like it when people try and say, you should do this, you're better than this, I'm better than you, this, that and the other. We're Manchester United fans, and ultimately that Sunday is a big opportunity for us to express our feelings. It might be too late. You know, it might be too late. I personally think the Glazers have already made their mind up. I do. I think they've made their mind up. I think they know what they're doing. That doesn't mean that they can't be swayed at the end, but they'll know if they want a full sale and they'll know if they want to stay. And it's a matter of when we find that out. Andy's gifted another membership. You're a legend, Andy. But, you know, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. If you're going to get married and you're fortunate enough to have two people chasing after you and you've got to make a decision, you know which way you're going. You know, you might try before you buy, but the reality is, and you shouldn't have to pay for it, but the reality is you'll know which way you're going. And they've had long enough to think about this. They know what they're going to do. We just don't know what they're going to do. They will know if they're looking at a full sale, and they will know if they really want to stay and take a deal with Sir Jim or the Elliott Group. They'll know. They will know that. I don't think they're sat there tonight, Joel and Avram, going, well, the siblings are going no matter what, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're going. But Joel and Avram, they will know whether they want to stay or whether they want to go. And ultimately, they'll be playing. What they'll do is, scenario one, says, welcome to Members Club. And Raz says, what if Sir Jim gets the club and passes away in the next 5 to 10 years? We're stuck with the Glazers on top yet again, says Raz. Well, no. I don't think Sir Jim's shares will be. I don't think Joel and Avram Glazer are going to be in Sir Jim Radcliffe's will, mate. They'll pass on to family members or Ineos or something like that. I don't think we need to worry about that. But there's two scenarios here, right? Okay, I'm 100% convinced that Joel and Avram know what they want to do. If their plan is to go with Sir Jim and have 20% and keep voting rights, then what they are doing is they are waiting for Sir Jim's final offer, and they are waiting for Althani's final offer, and they are hoping that Sir Jim is going to offer as much as they can get, because that's the one they're going to go for anyway. On the other hand, if they're going for a full sale, they're hoping that Althani is going to boost his offer up a little bit more so they can take a little bit more. They are not sat there going, they're not like the bloody Steve Miller Band or whatever it was called. Shall I stay or shall I go now? They're not like that. They know what they want. All they're doing is just trying to get the price up a little bit more from whatever option they want. They're not sat there going, shall we sell it all or shall we stay? They will have made their choice. They will just be hoping whatever their choice is going to knock that money up a little bit more. So Jim Radcliffe bid might be the way to get hold of the club he loves. I'm just disappointed that it gives another option to the Glazers before they had to sell, says Akash. Well, the disappointing thing with Sir Jim is he was looking for a full sale and then he's changed his mind, hasn't he? I have a bad feeling about the direction the Glazers will decide. This is brewing for way too long, says Tim. JS has gifted a membership as well. Thank you very much, JS. Look, I'm genuinely up until the news came out that Sir Jim Radcliffe was looking to keep the Glazers, which, to be honest, knocked me for six when that came out a couple of nights ago. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it, and I'm sure you felt the same. Up until that point, I was absolutely convinced that we were going to get a full sale. I didn't know whether it was going to be Sir Jim or Althani. I thought it would be Althani, but I was 100% sure we were going to get a full sale, to be honest. As soon as Sir Jim's news came out that he was looking to keep the Glazers, I was 50-50. I don't know which way this is going to go. I really don't. I haven't felt like this since Christmas Eve 1995. I hadn't got an Amiga the year before. I got a bloody tape recorder. I really was wanting an Amiga. I hadn't told anybody, but I'd been into town and bought Sensible World of Soccer. I'd bought a game for the Amiga, and it was a 50-50 thing when I went to bed on Christmas Eve. Was I going to wake up like a complete prat the next day with a computer game I'd bought for 20 quid that I couldn't use? Or was the dream scenario going to be there that I could whack it straight into the Amiga and get playing Sensible World of Soccer at 2 o'clock in the morning? And thankfully, the Amiga was there. But I feel a little bit like that tonight. I don't know which way this is going to go. I feel the game in my hand is that we will get a full sale, but part of me still thinking there might be no Amiga to put it into. So I don't know. I really don't have a confidence this is going to go the way I want it to. That doesn't mean I'm not confident, but I can, when you can imagine scenarios, I can imagine a scenario very easily that we get bought and we start our new journey, however that goes. I can imagine that. I can feel what that feels like. But on the other hand, I can feel a scenario where we miss the train on that and we go into this Sir Jim Qatar thing where we're just frustrated and angry for the next 10 years. I don't know. Reports say that Qatar's final bid is just over 5 billion, says Mike. Yep, we spoke about that at the start, mate. So, and I agree with that. I wouldn't offer 6. I don't agree with anybody moaning that he should offer 6. It's too much. Is the 5 billion bid just for the Glazers shares? That would mean they need to pay for the 30% not owned by the Glazers, would mean total cost of 7 billion, says Donald. Donald, don't ask me about the Donald. I've never understood that. The Glazers only own 69%. So are they offering 5 billion for the whole lot, or are they offering 5 billion for the share? I don't know. Chris says that Phil Brown's podcast is really good. A lot of excellent information and hints towards a Qatar sale being accepted next week. Yeah, I listened to that in the bath, actually, Chris. I really like Phil Brown. I think he's fantastic what he does. I was listening to that, and whilst they don't, I don't want to say that they pin it down. I think that, there's a lot of stuff in there that makes a lot of sense and is obviously well sourced. one thing that was in there, I think it was in there, or I read it somewhere tonight, that is true and has been established as true, is that the meeting between Qatari representatives and Manchester United, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago, did go really positive in the way of Qatar. Hi Mark, I'm looking forward to celebrating a successful sale in the Hairy Lemon come June, says Niall. I can't wait. Get your tickets. Dublin, we're coming. And hopefully we'll be coming with an FA Cup and new owners. It'd be great to have that end of season show in Dublin and turn it into a real celebration. Get your tickets, links in the live chat and in the video description. Sean says that Sir Jim can't lift us to compete with City. Nice, for instance, can't push PSG. He's pushing for business only with him, teaming with the Glazers. I think that's a great point. Scott Brown, welcome to the Members Club. Harry Maguire, Mark, do you think Sir Jim having a major stake will still be better than the Glazers? Well, yes. But I hate that. I hate that point, Harry. I've got to be honest. I hate that. I hate that because you're right. Sir Jim and Glazers is better than what we've had for the last 17 years. It is. But that's not something to celebrate. You've got two very clear situations here. You've got Sir Jim and the Glazers, and you've got Al Thani. Al Thani represents super wealth. Stadia, transfers, infrastructure, releasement of debt. That's what that ownership model represents. So Jim represents, best case scenario, stability, top four, the odd FA Cup. It will not represent toppling City. It will not represent European Champions League success. It will be sustainability of what we've seen probably over the last few years. It will not be where we should be because they will not be able to do that financially. They won't have the capability. So when people say, well, Sir Jim with the Glazers is better than the Glazers on their own, yes it is, but there's a far better option there. So I won't wake up if we've got Sir Jim and the Glazers and go, oh well, that's better than the last 17 years, because I'll go, but there was this brand new start. There was this situation that football's become that we could have been part of. Mike Calvert says, if Ratcliffe accommodates the Glazers and helps them retain control, I can only imagine the scale of protests ahead. Media seems pro Sir Jim Ratcliffe, says Mike. Well, I think you are imagining the scale of protests ahead. I mean, it's been very encouraging to hear that the protests organisers for Sunday have said full sale only. So they are publicly saying that this Sir Jim thing is not what they want. So full sale only. I think that's, as long as the fans are locked in on full sale only, then I think the protests will continue in relation to what Sir Jim is offering, and quite rightly so. But whether some of the fans will go, at the end of the day, I don't know. Andy Weatherall, thanks for gifting a membership. Coco's Revenge says the Glazers have destroyed this club. Give a few years, we won't be able to compete for the top four, and we'll be outplayed by City and Newcastle. You can't be arrogant. It's absolutely correct. Rizik, welcome to the Members Club. You can't be arrogant. I don't think there's anybody in football that doesn't think Newcastle are about to... Well, look, next season, there's only 2 places up for grabs in the top 4. So Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, 5 of us are fighting for 2 spots. Because history shows you that once these super wealthy clubs get in the top 4, they don't leave. Everyone said that Man City, when Man City first got their money, it was like, they'll never get top 4. Top 4 is always going to be Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, maybe Spurs. Man City won't get top 4. Within 2 years, they got top 4 and they never left. So you can't say, well, I don't care, Newcastle, bottlers, they'll never get top 4. They've actually got richer owners than Abu Dhabi. And once they've got top 4, they won't leave. So, I don't want to scare people, but we've got an opportunity to be bought by people that can compete with that wealth. Whether you like it or not, hold your morals for a minute. I'm not really interested in what your morals are or what my morals are. In relation to football, there are no morals. I don't know why people walk into football and go, what about your morals? Hello? What morals? You're in the wrong game. What are you talking about, morals? The Qatar World Cup, the England football team was going to do something about... There was going to be something they were going to do. They got told they were going to get a yellow card and they decided they weren't going to do it. People were complaining about the World Cup being in Qatar oh, beIN Sports or ITV are offering me a few $100,000 to go and commentate. Off I go. I'm going to say a few things on Twitter though, but I'll still be there. You know, morals in football, and that's low level stuff. When you're talking about the big corporations, there's no morals in football anyway. You have your morals. You should hold on to your morals. They're very important. But let's not pretend there's any morals in football here. And effectively, you can have your morals and fight for fifth, because that's what's going to happen. And look, if we do miss out on Qatar and Al Thani, do you think Liverpool and Chelsea, and to be honest, Chelsea are quite a rich club anyway. They could be in the top four forever soon, if their owner actually realises that he's a football owner and not the manager. It only takes one more club to be bought like Newcastle or Man City, and I think the top four door is closed. You can't compete with Man City and Newcastle if you're not in that club. There's 2 spaces in the Champions League next year. Who's going to take them if Chelsea sort their act out, and then another Middle Eastern or super wealthy buyer buys Arsenal? Doors closed. And that's the scary thing. If Sir Jim gets hold of this club, that could be our next decade. Moral ownership, organic growth for the next 10 years. And within that 10 years, you've got Man City, Newcastle, Chelsea. It only takes one more club to be bought like that, and we're fifth. Are we against Sir Jim now, and will he be an enemy of the fans? Well, it's up to everybody else, Wilfred. I'm not going to tell people what to think. Adam Lee, welcome to the Members Club. Getting Sir Jim would be like not winning on the game show Bullseye. We will all be saying, take a look what you could have won, says Ross. Yeah, I think you're right there. It's the fact that we know what we could have had if we don't get it. Qatar's the only way. No to Kane and get Højlund, says Dan. Sir Jim would basically be Tottenham, says Lance. I think, you know what, I've not heard that, and I'm sure a lot of you have, but that is a great way of looking at it. I think under Sir Jim, we become Tottenham. You know, we probably do get a stadium at great cost. We probably put a go-kart track underneath it. Probably get Ed Sheeran there, although he loves doing the Etihad. Yeah, I think we become Tottenham under Sir Jim. Whereas under Al Thani, we can become Man City. And ultimately, do we want to be Man City? Probably not, but we didn't start that. They did. What do Man City do? They win Premier Leagues. That's what we want to do. You know, I would sit here, honestly, and say, if I knew, or I could think of a way, or I thought I knew somebody out there could show us a way to win Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues that's not the way Man City's done it, I'd try and do it. But you know what? We've all sat there. We've all thought about it. There isn't a way of doing it. There isn't. You know, there is not a way of beating the likes of Real Madrid and Manchester City without super wealth. There's just not. The way our club is, we're not set up to do it. We have to go through that. And you know, that's just the way it is. Would you keep Maguire in the summer? Well, that's a bit of a football question, isn't it? Would I keep Maguire in the summer? I'm trying to think of the right answer here. No, I wouldn't keep Maguire in the summer because I think that... Well, no, I wouldn't. Let me be absolutely blunt. I wouldn't keep him because he's not good enough. That's the honest answer. We need to buy a centre-back that is... Look, when Martinez is out and Luke Shaw plays, Luke Shaw does the job really, really well. We need that at right centre-back. I think Lindelof does a decent job, but I don't think he's anywhere near the level of Varane. When Martinez doesn't play, Luke Shaw's not as good as Martinez, but he does a bloody good job of imitating him. When Varane doesn't play, Maguire and Lindelof are nowhere near that. We need to bring somebody in that competes with Varane, basically, because we haven't got that. And Maguire's biggest problem is he's just not quick enough for this team. I mean, Maguire's so slow, his shadow gets bored of him and leaves him alone. Like, it's, you know, it leaves him behind. It's just not quick enough. If we were playing a back five, you know, I think he's a decent centre-back in that scenario. I'd have liked to bring him on last night and gone to a back five just to try and hold on, but he's not quick enough for me. I would look to move him on. But I'm not convinced he will go. The thing I don't understand is anyone offering less than a full buyout is expected to be the one that pays for the team, a stadium and investment, while the Glazers keep all the power and pocket the sale cash. You know what, Glennie? We could literally spend hours going through all of this, but I still now do not understand how Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying 50% and letting Joel and Avram stay with 20% works. And that's before you even start thinking about the voting rights. I mean, and you know, like you say, who pays for what? What happens with the debt? You know, and that's the thing that's scary. I think if the Sir Jim option happens, it will take months to sort it out. Well, the transfer window, what happens with that? I can see a scenario where they'll just buy Harry Kane and go, look, we bought Harry Kane. I think Sir Jim and the Glazers would buy Harry Kane and go, look, we're serious. But you bought Paul Pogba. You bought Harry Maguire. You bought Jadon Sancho. You know, you bought Ronaldo back. It's not like you haven't made signings. You've spent over £1 billion in the last decade. It's not expenditure that's the problem. It's the quality. A lot of people are saying that James Milner's going to Brighton. Why should I give a shit? I mean, I don't want to be blunt, but why is that relevant on a show where it's the United stand? I don't. So what? James Milner's finished anyway. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe goes up the road, how will he attend the games? It will be toxic. Gavin Neville, he's keeping quiet as he may be parachuted into a role to placate the fans as Chester photography. Thank you very much. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll be stunned if I'm wrong about this. I'm absolutely convinced that whoever gets hold of this football club, whether it's Sir Jim or Qatar, I'm absolutely convinced there's an ex-player involved. Absolutely convinced. And at some point they will be parachuted in, like you've just said there. I don't know which owner it is, Sir Jim or Qatar, but I'm absolutely convinced. And you can guess what players they would be. For me, there's three. It could be, and Gary would be one of them, of course. But I don't know whether that's true. It's a hunch, but I'm absolutely convinced by it. Yeah. And I don't think we need that. You know what my opinion is. I mean, we listen to a lot of these ex-players, and I don't think they talk as much sense as you. But obviously, you know, it's like TV punditry, isn't it? You know, they always think that ex-football players are the way. I don't think that's the case. I think you should go for the best people who can do the job the best. Hi, Mark. Regarding the City treble, have you seen that Modric is now a major doubt for the City game? Loving the Friday night show, says Luke. Well, everything's falling into place. It's like Nicky Butt said, isn't it? Man City may well win the treble, but they won't win it like we won it. Matt says, if the Sir Jim bid wins, I'd be curious to see how the share price reacts. If Sir Jim keeps the Glazers in post and has the audacity to walk into Old Trafford hoping to receive a warm welcome, he deserves everything he gets. Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Luke? I mean, some people will just go, I'll prove you wrong. And they'll look, I'm not naive enough. I'm sure you're not. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe buys the football club, there will be an onslaught of publicity. It will be spin, spin, spin. They'll have to employ Kylie Minogue for all the spinning around. And it will be, I'm going to build a stadium. I'm going to back the manager. We're going to be the best club in the world again. But that will happen and some people will believe it. But it won't happen in reality. It's just bullshit. How many times have the Glazers said that to us over the last 15 years? You could add that up and write a book about the statements about, you know, what we're going to do when it's never happened. Radcliffe, Glazer ownership, or Maguire at centre-back for United for the rest of his career. Give him a lifetime contract. Maguire's our centre-back, Steve. Rian says, if you're thinking of getting that new game, get it. If CD keys, it's cheaper. Just type CD keys and Star Wars. Just advice, loving the show, says Rihan. Thank you very much. I told you Neville would be quiet as a mouse. Also, Mark, I'll hopefully see you in New York, says Sumi. I hope so, mate. And how much of City's success do you put down to Pep versus the owners, says Red? 100% owners, Red. I've never seen Pep Guardiola manage a club that didn't have great players there already or an open checkbook. So I don't think Pep Guardiola could win a treble with Everton. So I think it's down to the owners. I think Pep Guardiola's a great manager, but there's no evidence that he can't do it without a checkbook. So of course it's down to the owners. Just going back to that previous point, I think I've made it very, very clear to everybody anyway. I actually, like and respect Gary Neville. It's the other way around that's the problem. So I we're the outcasts, we're the underclass, we're the uninvited party guest that stays till the end. That's what we are. That's what the United Stand is. I think it's very unfortunate. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's bitterness. I don't know. Maybe it's the way we do our content. Maybe it's the fact that we call everybody out. It's not personal. I don't know. But what I will say is, I have been disappointed that Gary hasn't spoken over the last 48 hours, because everybody's spoken. Protesters, journalists, more importantly the fans, everybody's spoken about their disappointment that somebody would try and keep the Glazers in place. And Gary's very vocal about politics, and he's very vocal about Manchester United, and he's very vocal about regulators. So I'm disappointed, because again, it just feels like a little bit, he shouts about what he wants to shout about, but he doesn't shout about everything. And I wish he had said something about it, even if I don't agree with it. I wish he had said it. But look, maybe he's got his own nest to feather. I don't know. But look, I'm still hopeful. What do I think is going to happen next? I don't know. We're on, somebody even said, do you think there'll be a fourth round of bidding? Oh, you wouldn't put it past them. I think whatever happens, well, no, I'd be lying there. I'd rather have a fourth round of bidding if it meant the Glazers were going to go. But I think ultimately we need to get to a position where we know what's going to happen. I really do think the next story is going to be, this is what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to come next. And that's why the protests on Sunday are so important, because whether it's online or physically there, collectively, that message has got to go out loud and proud. Because I think I don't think we'll know before Sunday what's going to happen. And I don't think we'll have much say in what's going to happen, but we can have a big say in what we feel. And, Full Sail is the most important thing, because Full Sail incorporates everything. We want the Glazers out, and we don't want anybody to keep them here. The interesting thing is when we're going to find out. I mean, realistically, probably not till next week, but these things do tend to leak a little bit soon. Hi Mark, cheers from New York. Can I get a birthday shout out? Says Daniel. Of course you can, Daniel. I hope you're having a great birthday as well, as Ashton has just said to you, is there as well. See you in New York, hoping to get snapshots. I can't, I'm looking, we've just got to sort a venue out for New York now, and we're going to be doing a show in July. Man United are going to be playing there as well. I'm looking forward to come. Have to let me know about some bars and stuff. I'm looking forward to it. What was I going to say? Yeah, of course. Well, what I'm looking forward to before that is June the 6th in Dublin. Come on. Absolutely can't wait. End of season show. The United Stand. It's going to be great. It's basically a Friday night show times 100. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be the biggest show we've ever done as well. I think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. Can't wait for that. If you want to get a ticket or two, links in the video description, and it's in the live chat. Look, we're starting to do more and more of these. I think, you've got to get out there and, put yourself out there and do these types of shows as well. It's great doing what we do on YouTube, but it's so great to get out there and actually interact with people. Looking forward to it. So hopefully we will see you there in Dublin on June the 6th. Have a great evening, whatever you're doing. We will see what happens tomorrow. I have still got to do the Aston Villa preview, but I thought tonight it just didn't feel right to do it. So we will get the Aston Villa preview up for you probably tomorrow afternoon or something like that, because we'll do the morning show. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, if anything major happens tonight, we'll go live, but I'm not expecting anything other than the bid's 5 billion or something, which we pretty much know anyway. I don't think we're going to get to 10 o'clock tonight. The Al-Thani's won. If we do, we'll go live. Mark, see you in New York, since that's where the game is, says just Karim. Thank you very much. Kareem, sorry. Are you bringing Goldbridge Ball back in the next Sidemen match, as they are thinking of doing another one, and hopefully you get a few training sessions in, says Nathan Allen. I would love to do the Sidemen charity game again, but I have a horrible feeling I won't be invited back. Not for anything I've done, I just think the way things are going. I'd want to play this time as well. They're desperate for centre-backs, as I found out for my cost last year, so I'd love to play this time, but I loved it last year. I'd love to do it again, but I just have this feeling. just the way things are going in this industry at the moment, I just have this feeling we're just sort of, like I said, we just seem to be outcast. I don't know why, but we'll keep doing what we do. We're not going to stop doing what we do, are we? We are what we are, and you know, I think people are intimidated by it for some reason. I don't know why. If there is a fourth round of bids, I think Qatar bails out, leaving only Sir Jim and the Glazers, says Stephen. We'll see. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Enjoy your evening, day, or whatever you're doing. And do not forget the Dublin show, because it'd be great to see you. Links in the chat and in the video description. Bourbon with Friends says, maybe we can get that podcast set up when you come to the States. Be lovely to meet you. I would love to do that, Bourbon with the Friends, especially if you're in New York. I've had a few invites to do some stuff in New York already, and I haven't even confirmed I'm going, so that'd be great. Take care, everyone. Speak to you in a bit. Love the Friday night show. Let's see what happens. Speak to you in a bit. Stay safe.